Hello, I'm Mary Valledor, and I'm representing the estates of both Rio Valledor and Carlos Villa. And I was born in San Francisco, as they both were also. And when I was 17 years old, just out of high school, I met Carlos and he introduced me to Leo. And it ended up that Leo and I got married and went to New York, and I watched him create many, many years of beautiful paintings. And after Leo died, Carlos and I ended up becoming family and getting married. And I got to watch Carlos create all of his paintings also.
Hi, I'm Rio Valledor. I am the son of Leo Valledor and the stepson of Carlos Villa, and co-manage the estates for both artists. 1 year ago, when Silverlens was opening here, their gallery in New York, I came to the opening and I got to meet both Isa and Rachel here, and we immediately discussed the works of Leo and Carlos. And 1 year later, to have them both being shown here together is such an amazing moment for our family and for the legacy of both artists. So it's a really, really great moment for all the work seen. This is the work Between Heaven and Earth by Rio Valledor. It's representative of a series he did of multi-panel, very kind of monumental scale pieces using color field, very simple colors on each panel, but the composition represents, I think, a lot of the dynamic geometries that Leo worked with quite often. The title, Between Heaven and Earth, is a little bit unclear, but I think it definitely alludes to moments of enlightenment that he was very interested in. This is a piece called Love Think by Carlos Villa. It's one of the first pieces you'll see as you enter Silverlens. It's opposite Between Heaven and Earth, so the scales between Leo's work and Carlos's work are there. This is also quite representative of some of the motifs in Carlos's work, these kind of swirling patterns, the use of feathers, and the use of his body, in particular his face, as an instrument to apply paint to the surface.
If you look at the painting quickly, you won't see some of the most important aspects of the painting. There's a message in it. The painting is entitled Love Think, and if you look closely, you can see that it actually is spelled out in feathers, L-O-V-E and T-H-I-N-K. I think it's a secret message, and you have to look closely.
This is a piece called Youngblood by Rio Valledor, 1955. He was just still a teenager when he was doing this type of work, still very influenced by the abstract expressionist gesture work. It's very important to this show in particular because it represents many aspects that Carlos's work has, and so it might be surprising to learn that it's actually Leo's piece, which doesn't have some of the geometry structure that his later works would have. This is before he made that leap into those types of structures. So we think it's a pivotal piece because it brings the two artists together in an idea in one work.
This is a painting by Carlos Villa. The title is I'm Beside Myself. And when I look at the painting, I see a lot of movement, and I think of it as dancing to people, that it's actually himself dancing beside himself. There might not be another painting like it that he wrote on the front of the canvas, and he wrote the title, I'm Beside Myself, and the year that he made it, and that's unusual. It took us a while to see that that was on it. It's very unique in that way.
This painting is very personal to me. This is called The Blessing for Rio, which is about me. It was done in 1970, 1 year, or the year after I was born. So it's a very special meaning to me. People ask about kind of the shape and the color, and I think again his phrase, the blessing, he was looking for something kind of pure and to sort of transcend maybe a complicated life and to see something kind of simple and clean and beautiful. As you enter the gallery in the main hall, you'll see We Shall Overcome by Rio Valledor, which is the largest piece in the show. The title, We Shall Overcome, refers to civil rights sort of mantra. It's derived from American folk music and African American gospel references. And in particular, Leo referred to the quote from Martin Luther King, in which he said, "We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice." And so you can see the arcs on either side of the piece. And so it brings the meaning of that title very, very clearly. This painting by Rio Valledor is titled The Other Shore, and it is a reference to an idea in Buddhism that Leo was very interested in, where the idea of a metaphor of the other bank of a river represented the attainment of enlightenment and traveling towards a higher spiritual existence in your life. You can see kind of that movement and the energy coming from the center really kind of reflects this idea of heading towards enlightenment.
This painting by Carlos Villa is a great piece. There's some very personal aspects that I should mention. In this corner here, there's a photo of his mother. In this corner, there's almost like a wig. Carlos used hair in different paintings over the years, and whenever I see anything that has hair in it, I always think that it's a memory of his mother. On the back of the wig up there are these, what we call slinkies, and they're in many of his paintings. And there's a little piece of it up in one corner, and down with the photograph, there's another piece of it. The rest of the whole painting is each rectangle has an imprint of his face. He took the canvas and put it on his face, smashed it up against his face, and then he put them in all over the painting. Throughout the painting, there are little chicken bones, and they're wrapped in a colorful cloth. He called those little pieces Senoritas. So whenever I look at them, to me, it's like they're dancing because the cloths are made so they kind of go out to the side. This painting by Rio Valledor is titled Earth Sun, and the color, of course, is reminiscent of an earth color. It's a very important painting to me because other than in this show, it's always been in my house, and it's a very main part of my everyday. It's the first time I ever had it in public. It's interesting too because Leo and I were both earth signs. I'm a Virgo and he was a Capricorn.
He would often use dots in paintings in certain series. This one in particular is a single dot, and that was often this idea of a kind of meditative point within the paintings. So the idea of meditation was part of the series that he was doing. It's also interesting to point out that a couple paintings in this show have the more expressive drip at the edges of the bottoms of his paintings. So that was sort of bringing back some of his expressionist aspects of his work, even though this was a bit later after he had explored kind of a hard-edged geometry. So it's interesting to see him bring back certain elements in his work here.
It's interesting because both Carlos and Leo, if you look at their work, everyone would think, oh, they're so different. But one of the things that they had in common and so similar was that every day, both of them got up and the first thing they would think of was their work and how they could put the next point that they were going to make. Even if they had other things they had to do in their jobs or their life, painting was most important to both of them, always, all their lives.